People say intermittent fasting slows aging. If that is true, why do some fasters feel sharper while others feel drained? Today we treat this like medicine, mechanisms, benefits, trade-offs, and who should be cautious because biology rarely rewards slogans. Long-term fasting is not one day of willpower. It is repeated timing signals that can reshape hormones, repair systems, and sometimes create stress. Intermittent fasting is mainly a timing pattern when you eat. Not just what you eat, and timing can influence metabolism and cellular maintenance. In about 20 minutes, you will understand the pathways fasting may touch, what evidence suggests, and how to fast without aging your muscles. This is not a superhero montage. It is physiology sometimes boring, sometimes beautiful, and occasionally rude when you ignore recovery. Aging is a long movie. Fasting changes the scenes between meals, fuel use, signals, and cleanup processes that may influence long-term risk. When we say aging, we are talking about damage accumulation, inflammation, metabolic stress, and resilience, how well your body repairs and adapts. Fasting is not acting alone. Sleep, protein intake, training, and stress often decide whether fasting feels rejuvenating or quietly depleting. If you are pregnant, underweight, have eating disorder history, or use glucose-lowering medications, fasting may be risky and needs professional guidance. We will follow 5 pathways: insulin and IGF-1, cellular recycling, inflammation, brain energy, and muscle preservation, the real tension of longevity. Online, fasting is framed as a switch. In real humans, signals shift gradually and benefits depend on dose, timing, and recovery. Meet insulin, not a villain, a manager. Long-term high insulin often correlates with metabolic disease risk, so lowering demand can matter. Now IGF-1 and growth pathways. Growth supports repair, but chronic high growth signaling may relate to faster, where in some contexts. Let us run the clock. What happens after your last bite, and why repeating that clock for months might change aging-related signals. Right after eating, glucose rises, insulin rises, and the body stores fuel. Fasting begins as those signals gradually fall back down. As insulin declines, your body transitions from storage mode toward release mode. That shift can reduce constant growth signaling in some people. The liver acts like an energy bank. In early fasting, it spends glycogen to keep blood sugar stable, especially for your brain. In the first few hours, digestion dominates. The goal is not starvation. It is letting the post-meal wave finish instead of stacking waves all day. Around 10 to 12 hours, many people begin leaning more on stored fat and liver output, though timing varies with activity and meal size. Using more fat can change mitochondrial workload and byproducts. Some data suggest metabolic flexibility relates to resilience, though it is not guaranteed. Ketones can rise during longer fasts and may act as signals, not just fuel. They might influence inflammation and brain energy in some cases. Cells maintain themselves through recycling pathways. Fasting may nudge these systems, but in humans, the timing and magnitude remain debated. Think dimmers, not buttons. Feeding tends to raise growth signaling. Energy stress tends to raise maintenance signaling. Balance is the story. Longevity is not permanent repair mode. You still need rebuilding protein synthesis, immune function, hormones, so chronic restriction can backfire. Meal timing interacts with circadian biology. Earlier eating often aligns better with insulin sensitivity, which may influence long-term metabolic strain. If fasting moves dinner earlier, sleep may improve. Better sleep supports glucose control and inflammation regulation, major players in aging risk. Feeding patterns shape the gut environment. Some evidence suggests time-restricted eating can change microbial rhythms, especially when diet quality is strong. Repeated high glucose variability may promote oxidative stress and inflammation. If fasting reduces spikes for you, that may lower inflammatory signaling over time. Cardiovascular aging relates to vessel stiffness and endothelial function. Fasting's effects may come indirectly through weight. glucose, and blood pressure changes. Humans measure aging through proxies metabolic labs, inflammation markers, strength, cognition. Fasting might shift proxies, but context shapes outcomes. Long-term is repetition across seasons, travel, holidays, stress. The question becomes, can you sustain fasting without losing muscle or sleep? One reason people like fasting is fewer decision points. Fewer spikes and fewer snacks can reduce the constant appetite negotiation. Some people report clearer mornings with fewer meals. That may reflect fewer glucose swings, fewer crashes, and sometimes better sleep timing. Now, the conflict: fasting can lower insulin, but it can also raise stress hormones in some people, especially when sleep is short. Cortisol mobilizes fuel. If fasting feels threatening, cortisol may rise and push glucose up useful short term, stressful when chronic. When fasting disrupts sleep, aging-related systems take a hit. Poor sleep can increase insulin resistance and inflammation more than expected. Appetite hormones adapt, but not instantly. If your window causes nightly hunger, compliance drops, and stress eating can return harder. Strength training protects muscle with age. If fasting reduces protein intake or training quality, you could trade metabolic gains for sarcopenia risk. Muscle is a longevity organ. You need enough protein and resistance work to maintain it, especially as anabolic resistance increases with age. A shorter eating window can compress protein distribution. Some people do better with a longer window, so they can hit protein targets comfortably. Long-term patterns can create gaps if food choices narrow. Micronutrients influence energy, mood, and repair quiet factors in aging trajectories. Fasting responses can differ by sex, life stage, and energy availability. Some women report more stress or cycle disruption with aggressive fasting. In older adults, unintentional weight loss and muscle loss can be risky. Fasting needs extra attention to protein, strength, and stability. A plan that fights your social life often fails. Flexibility can reduce stress, which may protect health more than rigid adherence. For some, long fasts lead to rebound overeating that can create larger glucose spikes and inflammation, undermining the maintenance benefits. Stimulants on an empty stomach can amplify stress response for some people. Pairing coffee with food may reduce jitters and cortisol-driven glucose. Early fasting effects can include headaches or irritability. Hydration, electrolytes, and gentler ramps may help, especially when you are active. With chronic restriction, the body may adapt by reducing expenditure. Intermittent fasting is not immune. Overall energy balance still matters. The key question becomes dose: enough fasting to nudge maintenance pathways, not so much that stress, sleep, and muscle start paying. Intermittent fasting has many forms. Different schedules may produce different trade-offs, and the best fit often depends on lifestyle and goals. Time-restricted eating, especially earlier windows, may improve glucose control for some. It also tends to support sleep when dinner ends earlier. More intense schedules can be harder to recover from. If you use them, protein, sleep, and training become non-negotiable supports. Autophagy is real biology, but measuring it in humans is complex. Fasting may influence it, yet effects likely vary by tissue and dose. Some benefits may be indirect through weight loss, improved glucose, or better sleep rather than fasting acting as a separate magic pathway. Metabolic stability can reduce oxidative stress signals. Whether fasting improves stability depends on meal quality, stress level, and how you refeed. Some people feel mental clarity during fasting, possibly from steadier fuel and catecholamines. If anxiety rises, the same chemistry can feel unpleasant. If fasting improves sleep, recovery metrics like HRV may improve. That could influence aging risk indirectly through better autonomic balance. Blood pressure may improve when weight drops and sleep improves. Changes are often modest, but small shifts can matter over years. In this dashboard, the winning pattern looks like stability, lower insulin demand, protected sleep, preserve muscle, and fewer inflammatory spikes. Refeeding quality shapes outcomes. If fasting leads a process rebounds, inflammation and glucose swings may increase, offsetting potential longevity benefits. For aging, distributing protein across meals can support muscle protein synthesis. A window that allows 2 to 3 protein hits often helps. If you fast long term, strength training can be an anchor. It signals the body to preserve muscle while you adjust timing. Bone health matters with age. If fasting reduces total intake or dairy alternatives, consider calcium, vitamin D, and weight-bearing activity. If energy drops persistently, it may reflect insufficient intake, poor sleep, or thyroid-related issues. Long-term fatigue deserves evaluation, not guilt. Hair and skin are sensitive to nutrient availability. If fasting narrows variety, protein and micronutrient shortfalls can show up subtly over months. A consistent window may strengthen gut rhythms. Pair it with fiber and fermented foods if tolerated, supporting barrier function and inflammation balance. For many, the biggest anti-aging effect of fasting is earlier dinner, less reflux, less fragmentation, and better deep sleep opportunity. If fasting becomes rigid and stressful, cortisol may rise and sleep may fall. Flexibility can be a longevity tool in disguise. Now we zoom deeper. What long-term fasting may do to insulin signaling, cellular cleanup, inflammation, and the trade-off with muscle. Lower insulin and IGF-1 signaling can reduce constant growth pressure. In some models, that relates to longer lifespan, but humans are complex. mTOR supports building and repair. Fasting may lower mTOR temporarily, which might help cleanup, but you still need rebuilding during eating windows. Energy sensing pathways like AMPK may rise during fasting. They can influence mitochondrial maintenance and stress resistance, though magnitude varies widely. Autophagy may increase with energy stress and exercise. Fasting can be one nudge, but sleep, training, and diet quality also contribute. Senescent cells accumulate with age. Whether fasting meaningfully reduces them in humans is uncertain, but lowering inflammation may help immune function. If fasting helps reduce visceral fat, inflammatory cytokines may drop. That can influence vascular aging, insulin resistance, and overall risk profile. Fatty liver relates to metabolic aging. Some people see improvements with time-restricted eating, especially when it supports sustained weight loss. Late-night eating can worsen lipid handling. Ending intake earlier may improve overnight fat metabolism for some, though results differ person to person. Vascular aging is slow. If fasting improves blood pressure trends and inflammation, it may influence stiffness over time, measured in years. When the sleep graph improves, many other graphs follow. For long-term fasting, sleep protection may be a central mediator, not an afterthought. Brain aging relates to vascular health and insulin signaling. If fasting improves metabolic control, it could support brain resilience, though evidence is evolving. Cognitive effects vary. Some people feel sharper. Others feel edgy. The same catecholamine rise can feel like focus or anxiety. Chronic inflammation can impair immune function. If fasting reduces inflammatory load through better weight and sleep, immune surveillance may improve modestly. Gut barrier integrity influences systemic inflammation. Meal timing and fiber quality may shape this. But symptoms and tolerance matter. Glucose variability can stress vessels and nerves. If fasting reduces late-night snacks and improves sleep, variability may narrow for some people. Aging muscle needs stronger signals, resistance training, and adequate protein. Without them, long-term fasting could increase muscle loss risk. Muscle protein synthesis often needs a sufficient dose per meal. A window that supports 2 to 3 adequate meals can be helpful. Hydration and electrolytes can influence how fasting feels. Many fasting side effects resemble dehydration, especially with coffee, heat, or exercise. Aging accelerators include poor sleep and chronic stress. If fasting fixes sleep timing, it may reduce those accelerators indirectly. The goal is not the longest fast, It is the best balance. Metabolic improvement will preserve sleep, mood, and muscle, the pillars of healthy aging. Long-term success often looks boring. A consistent window most days, with plan flexibility, rather than extreme fast followed by rebounds. During high-stress periods, a gentler window may protect sleep and cortisol. A slightly longer eating window can still reduce late-night snacking. If you train fasted, consider how you recover. Pair training with adequate protein soon after to support muscle repair and long-term resilience. If you fast long-term, periodic labs can be useful glucose markers, lipids, iron status, especially if energy, mood, or hair changes appear. People who snack late, have reflux, or show insulin resistance may notice benefits sooner, especially if fasting improves dinner timing. Some people should pause or modify fasting. Frailty, pregnancy, eating disorder risk, or medication-related hypoglycemia concerns safety comes first. Healthy aging is not a wrinkle contest. It is how your organs perform strength, cognition, vessels, and metabolic flexibility. Claims that fasting stops aging overshoot the evidence. A better claim is that fasting may influence aging-related pathways in some contexts. So far, the evidence story is a web. Metabolic signals, maintenance pathways, inflammation, and behavior. Now we build a practical resolution. Let us translate mechanisms into a long-term approach that prioritizes aging well, stable energy, protected muscle, quality sleep, and realistic adherence. A sustainable window often beats an aggressive window. Many people start with 12 to 14 hours overnight and adjust based on sleep and training. If you change one thing, consider earlier dinner. It can reduce reflux risk and support deeper sleep, which influences aging-related systems. Within your eating window, prioritize protein and fiber. That supports muscle and satiety, making fasting feel calmer rather than like white-knuckle restraint. For long-term fasting, resistance training is a protective policy. It signals your body to keep muscle, a major predictor of healthy aging. Try distributing protein across meals rather than backloading at night. That pattern may support muscle protein synthesis more effectively over time. Protect sleep as a cornerstone. If fasting worsens insomnia, shorten the fast or move meals earlier. Sleep loss can outweigh potential benefits. Add a stress buffer, breathing, a short walk, or journaling. If fasting becomes a stressor, cortisol may rise and undermine your goals. Hydration helps fasting feel smoother. Water and electrolytes can reduce lightheadedness for some people, particularly if you exercise or drink coffee. Flexibility can improve adherence and reduce stress. A consistent pattern most days, with planned exceptions, often beats perfection followed by burnout. Track weekly trends, energy, sleep, strength, appetite rather than minute-by-minute biofeedback. Long-term aging outcomes tend to follow long-term patterns. If you fast long-term, consider periodic labs and check-ins, especially with symptoms. Data can catch nutrient gaps and unintended weight loss early. If red flags appear, fainting, persistent fatigue, hair loss, cycle changes, or obsessive behavior, pause and reassess. Health is bigger than a schedule. For midlife and older adults, a gentler window with high protein and strength work often makes sense, supporting muscle and stability. When balance is respected, trends may improve together: sleep timing, metabolic stability, and strength. That combination is a credible pathway toward healthier aging. Potential wins often include lower insulin demand, improved weight control, and better sleep timing. Effects can vary, so your results deserve curiosity. Fasting may not override genetics, major disease, or severe stress. It is a supportive pattern, not a replacement for medical care and basics. Aging shifts with time. If fasting helps, it is often through slow compounding: better sleep, better labs, better strength rather than instant transformation. If you want a magic spell, try boring consistency. Your body tends to reward repeatable behavior more than dramatic fasting stunts. A sample plan. Finish dinner earlier on weekdays. Keep protein steady. Train 3 days and use flexible weekends so life stays livable. Refueling quality matters. If fasting leads to better food choices, benefits can stack. If it leads to chaotic cravings, benefits may shrink. Your calendar age is fixed. Your metabolic age may shift with sleep, activity, and nutrition patterns. Fasting is one lever among several. Personalization is the mature approach. Choose a window that supports training and sleep. Longevity favors consistency, not suffering. Some people may be better served by regular meals and stable intake. Longevity includes mental health, nourishment, and safety, not rigid restriction. As a clinician, I look for low downside patterns. A moderate, sleep-friendly fasting window can be reasonable when protein and strength are protected. We have seen the plot. Fasting may nudge maintenance pathways, but the ending depends on sleep, stress, muscle, and how you refeed. If there is one sentence, fasting may help aging when it improves recovery and stability, and it may hurt when it increases stress and loss. If you tried intermittent fasting long-term, what schedule fits your life best, and what would you track sleep, strength, mood, or labs? A safe start often looks gentle. A slightly earlier dinner, a moderate overnight fast, and strong nutrition during the window, especially protein. The evidence is still evolving. Mechanisms are compelling, but human outcomes depend on context. Treat fasting as an experiment, not an identity. Long-term wins come from routines that survive stress. If fasting amplifies calm habits, it may support aging well through repetition. Takeaway: fasting may influence aging through sleep timing, insulin demand, inflammation, and behavior. Muscle and stress decide whether the story improves. You do not need perfect adherence. You need a pattern you repeat. Aging risks tend to follow what you practice most, not what you attempt once. If your plan causes isolation or anxiety, it may be counterproductive. Social connection and stress reduction are also linked to longevity outcomes. If you have chronic conditions or concerning symptoms, partner with a clinician. Fasting can interact with medications, nutrition needs, and safety thresholds. Time is not the hero. You are. The best fasting schedule is the one that supports sleep, strength, and sanity most weeks, not just good weeks. When fasting works, well, it often looks like a calmer life rhythm: earlier eating, better sleep, steady training, and fewer chaotic snack loops. Aging is damage plus repair. If fasting improves repair conditions, sleep, metabolic stability, your maintenance systems may function more effectively over time. The objective is a favorable trade-off. If fasting costs muscle or sleep, adjust the window. Longevity is rarely a single variable win. Listen to red flags. If you feel faint, have chest pain, or persistent weakness, stop and seek medical evaluation. Experiments have limits. What is your real goal? Better sleep, steadier glucose, weight control, or focus? Your goals should determine your fasting style, not internet trends. If this helped, share it with someone considering fasting. We are building science movies that replace hype with mechanisms and practical guardrails. Remember, trends over moments. One good fast does not change aging, but repeated stable weeks can shift the direction of your health story. If you start tomorrow, start gentle. Protect protein, protect sleep, lift something, and let the window serve your life rather than control it. Plan, save, moderate fasting, strong nutrition, strength training, and sleep protection. That combination is more plausible for healthy aging than extremes. You do not need to win fasting. You need to feel safe and consistent. Calm physiology tends to support better decisions and better recovery. Fasting is a lever, not the foundation. The pillars remain sleep, strength, quality nutrition, and stress management. Fasting should support them. If you hear absolute promises, be skeptical. Human biology varies. Use fasting as a hypothesis, test it, and keep what supports your health. Comment your experiment, schedule, dinner timing, training plan, and what you will track. Comparing strategies beats comparing bodies. Final line: balance, then repeat. The aging process responds to what you do consistently, especially what helps you sleep well and stay strong. Long-term fasting may influence aging when it builds stability. Let small, repeatable habits, right, the ending sleep protected, muscle preserved, stress reduced.